Today we have a special guest, Ian Chow from Toronto. He's come to visit us here in, Edmonton, but we're in Stony Plain now, out on our acreage. And so it's our privilege to have a chance to find out a little bit about his history as a Kung Fu master. And this is Ian, not these guys. So tell us, Ian, what did you start practicing Kung Fu?
So my family has a long history in Chinese martial arts, and my grandfather, my father, and myself, and my father pretty much had me kicking and punching as soon as I could walk, and had me beating on the drums and playing lions. Chinese New Year, we did all the Lunar New Year parades in Chinatown. Minus 30-degree weather.
Yeah.
Snow up to your knees. Good times.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Taught you a lot about tradition and culture, and
I think so.
builds a lot of character as well.
Yeah.
And the passion we we're allowed to experience and share with others is priceless.
So I read a little bit about your bios on the websites there, but can you give us your father's name and where he's from and so on?
Yes, my father's name is Mo Chow, and he has a twin brother, Ben. In Chinese is Man. In Chinese culture, Chinese language, Man Mo is a very, very famous names in China. The brothers are, one is Marshall, Mo is Marshall, and Man is scholar.
Mm-hmm.
Uncle Ben was born first. He's the scholar and also practiced martial arts. My father is Mo. He's the fire.
Those are two great combinations, scholar
Mm-hmm.
and warrior, eh?
Mm-hmm.
It's actually perfect. Yeah. And so, what was the style that you were introduced to in the beginning?
So, my grandfather is a student of Chandao. He was Chandao's student as a kid in Toishan in the mid to late 1920s. The two were separated. Chandao had moved down to Hong Kong while my family was busy getting ready to come to Canada. So the two were separated for many years, and while my family was en route to Canada, we went from Toishan to Guangzhou to Hong Kong, and when we were in Hong Kong, that's when Chandao and my grandfather reunited. So Uncle Ben and my father got to train as young boys with the legendary Grandmaster Chandao.
Oh.
My grandmother had come to Canada first, so in 1959 she had immigrated here. Finally, she sponsored the rest of the family here in 1965, and that's when my father, Uncle Ben, and my grandfather joined the Hong Lok Kung Fu Club in Toronto, Chinatown.
Cool. Yeah. So Hong Lok, of course, is Grandmaster Chan. Well, both Grandmasters, but our Grandmaster Mark Chan is cousin to your Grandmaster.
Yeah.
Great. Yeah. Hong Lok in Toronto.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah. So you did the Choy foot and Do Pai.
Yes, so originally Hong Lok started teaching openly Toishan Hongga, and Do Pai was there, and Choy foot was there. The version of Choy foot that we first started learning is from Toishan, and it was taught by Grandmaster Jin Chan. The two main forms was Sabji Kun and Ying Jiao. There was also several weapon sets, as well as 2-person sets or 2-man forms and 3-man forms.
Oh.
Most of the forms of the 2-man and 3-mans at Hong Lok came from Grandmaster Jin Chan.
So Grandmaster Jin Chan, was he a teacher of Mark Chan as well?
Grandmaster Paul Chan and Grandmaster Mark Chan are from the same village, Chong Lao.
Mm-hmm.
They had the same teacher. Grandmaster Mark Chan's grandfather, Sigong Wang Chang Yip, was Grandmaster Paul Chan's first Kung Fu teacher.
Oh, yeah.
So our Toishan Hongga is a shared lineage.
Right on.
So when Hong Lok first started, people were sharing collective. So it was a group of people who were practicing together who had knowledge. Toishan Honggar was the main style when the organization first was formalized and started teaching openly. the group was practicing in private spaces. Eventually, High Park was the main place that the group gathered every Sunday morning and started practicing. And then Toishan Hungar was the main style that was taught first openly to the community.
So what did you start with, Master Paul Chan?
So I started my training with my father and my uncle. My father had branched out in 1974. So in 1965, so Uncle Ben and my father were first generation, my grandfather as well. My Uncle Ben and my father were minority shareholders. My father was with Hongluk for 9 years, and then he branched to a different part of the city to start and expand his journey.
Mm-hmm.
So my training started with my father, all the basics, the foundations, the stances, the punches, the blocks, the kicks. First form I learned is a Toishan form. It's actually a mix of Choy foot and a Hunga. We call it the Southern Toishan fist. And then the second form I learned was a Dopai set called Siulo Hankun, small monk fist. That form was taught to me and passed to me by my Uncle Ho, who was one of Grandmaster Paul Chan's personal students. Grandmaster Paul Chan taught my Uncle Ho his form in 1967, and that was his personal form. That's the form that he demoed at.
Mm-hmm. Cool. So, Master Paul Chan, I'm just curious. I understand he was a bit of an enforcer in Chinatown, there, was he?
Yes, he was known as the muscle. So when trouble came to Chinatown, he was the one who took care of it, and he was the one who got the call to take care of the situations. There's also stories of the group used to gather at Nanking Tavern, and Fridays they'd get together, have a few drinks, have a meal, and get ready to take care of business.
Take care of business. Yeah.
I saw many things and from many people. There are many stories. Grandmaster Paul was straight to the point. I mean, there's stories he grabbed the ashtray, teacup. Stories, well, you come into the restaurant, you don't want to pay, well, you're flying down the stairs.
Yeah.
His way is my way or the highway, but he had to be like that. So he put his foot down, you had to understand which was his position.
Now, part of the thing about us, because we're not new to the kung fu world, and we're not new to the planet, so we're kind of the ageless martial artists, and so we're still at it. You know, we haven't stopped and retired and everything. We're just doing it, right? Is there any injuries that you've had that slowed you down, made you stop, and that you recovered from that maybe the audience could benefit from some strength of keep going?
Ways you overcome things. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I've had many injuries. As far as healing goes, my ankle was probably the most serious. I twisted it both ways. So what happened was I did the Dita again, and we tried all kinds of medicine. And what had happened is about 3 months went by, and what had happened was that my ankle had tightened up, so it was really tight. So I didn't realize how tight it was until I started trying to move around and then do certain things. So when I actually started doing some of a different style of Hungar stances, the Gongji stance or forward stance actually started to help me loosen up my ankle, because it was done in a different way that I hadn't learned when I was younger. So the way that the ankle shifted and the foot shifted actually started loosening up, started rebuilding the ankle. So at first it was more about loosening.
Mm-hmm.
Then it was about building up and being stronger. And then as we went by slowly, the pain started going away, and then I felt less and less and less. And then to a point where, okay, this feels good. Now I can start to pressure on it. Now I can start making contact again. And that's pretty much kind of step by step. Like I was really on my own trying to heal it, right? And I had suggestions, circular motions, right? And I found mentally I held on to that injury, and the injury stayed with me for a while. And then one day we were goofing around on the heavy bag, And I didn't want to kick it that hard because I wasn't sure how it was going to turn out, if I was going to re-injure it or not. And then for whatever reason, I just booted the bag and then it was gone. It was almost like it left. It just left my
Confidence.
So keep training and you'll never recover quick.
And I found working through Gongji Fuku actually helped me rebuild and heal my ankle.
Wow.
And it wasn't making contact. It was doing the stances, the exercises.
And that's why Master Justine here, very, very, emphasizes the importance of moving your feet the way it's supposed to be, right? So the stance changing, right?
Yeah.
Justine?
Yeah. It's like I ripped up my knee quite badly, and it's I damaged everything but my ACL and meniscus and hamstring and the works, and physiotherapy just didn't do it for me. And again, Gongji Fuku is what I rehabbed my leg with, and I've rehabbed my shoulder with it. It was explained to me with my first instructors back in the early 70s that this is not only a martial set, but it's a set for health. It can be done in a variety of different ways, and it is a full rehab set, and I've experienced it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And it's an incredible set.
That's one important one to consider into your repertoire, right?
Mm-hmm.
What does that mean?
Well, it's subduing the tiger, and the tiger you're subduing is yourself, because it's when you do this form slowly, properly, and with the iron rings on, it can take more than half an hour.
Oh, okay.
And it's a total meditative, disciplinary kind of set. If you do it in its fullest extent, which few people do, they just do it like an ordinary set or something. But when you do it with the full dynamic tension, with full weighted arms, deep stances, and 100% proper footwork, it'll take you a while.
Mm-hmm.
But to develop the exact and precise movements, it takes years. It's not it's a set that's it's certainly developmental. It takes years and years and years to really perfect that set to its fullest. And
Yeah.
Do you still practice that form on any kind of regular basis?
Yeah, I go through sections.
Yeah, whatever you feel you need.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So you've been were you a stunt person in movies, or a choreographer, or what was your interaction with kung fu movies?
Mostly a stuntman. So mid '80s, production started to come into Toronto, and we're occasionally coming into Chinatown. So my uncle started getting involved with the film business. 1990, 1991, Warner Brothers Kung Fu Legend Continues came to Toronto. And they were looking for the Kung Fu man who can take care of the situation, organizing everything, who knew everybody, who was in good relations with everyone, who was experienced and knowledge, spoke the language, both English and Toishan, because at that time, Chinatown was still dominated by Toishanese people. So my father was the man, and he was recommended to production. So he brought a crew of people to go audition, and about a month later we were working on the pilot, doing the fight scenes. So myself, my uncle would play recurring roles on the show. My father also did. Myself, I did about 10 episodes of stunts. My father played an important role. He was scout locations, scouted all the venues, negotiated with the business owners back to production, made sure everything was smooth. He helped with choreography. He did some of the fighting as well. So my father was pretty important person in that series. And that series really kicked off a lot of the productions that were coming into Toronto and then coming into Chinatown. People in Chinatown who own the businesses respect my father, and they recognize him as the person who opened the doors for productions to come to Chinatown. And
How old were you then?
at that time, 17.
Oh, what a great time, eh?
Yeah.
Well, I was walking around with a Warner Brothers Kung Fu Legend Continue jacket. My high school teachers were wondering, where did you get that jacket? Well, I'm working on the show.
Yeah.
So that was pretty cool.
Yeah.
And
That's exciting. Yeah.
Yeah, this is very interesting. So when's the last time you were involved in any particular movie?
so Pacific Rim was the last time I worked on stunts. And
Pacific Rim.
Pacific Rim, and doing kind of a versatile part, running around a bit and riding a bicycle, and we're the guys who get knocked over or bump into the wall. And you,
What year was that?
that's about, I think about 2012. So it's been a while.
It's a while, but fairly recent
Yeah.
in a way. Right?
Fairly recent, yeah. You know,
That was
Honestly,
that alien invasion movie. Eh?
yeah, that's
Kinda,
yeah. And honestly, my uncle is the one who is very active. He's been in all kinds of movies and series. Even The Sopranos, he was in.
Oh yeah.
He was the monk that Tony Soprano slapped in the hospital.
Yes, tell us. There's no fraud without a fairy tale.
Yesterday, I was diagnosed with Alzheimer's.
My.
How fortuitous we should meet up with you again. Months you have ignored our letters and phone calls. Well, we are now filing suit against you. We had a horrible winter at the monastery because of your heating system. Lose your arrogance. Come on, guys. Hit me.
So my uncle really
can't
deserves the
remember.
credit. He's probably one of the top Asian actors in Canada. So
What's his name?
his name is Chow.
Ho
H
Chow.
O oyster Chow, and he's still active. And
Oh good.
he took that side of the acting and stunts, and he really developed and he really dove deep into that side of the business. And he still continues to do this. My father, not as much lately, because he has Parkinson's disease, but he still has the contacts and he's very highly respected because he's been running his own lock company for over 40 years. So not only was he a part of the martial art action, he was also providing keys and locks for productions as well. So if you go walk into his shop and you see his photo collection, second to none. And production people come in all the time and they sit there and their stories they share. Oh boy.
But hey, listen, you had some interactions with Jackie Chan.
Yeah, we were fortunate enough to meet Jackie Chan when he was in Toronto. He was filming Tuxedo, and
That's true.
yeah, that was a fun one. So we were invited to the wrap party, and that's when we got to meet him. Jackie Chan has his own stunt team, and everywhere he goes, he's got his people. And
he's mostly the stunt guy.
yeah, so we were fortunate enough to meet him, and then we sat right next, pretty much the next table over.
Yeah.
So with Grandmaster Paul Chan, I think what's important is it's the time that I spent with him is when I spent it with him. I've known him my whole life. We lived in his basement when I was a baby, so our relationship with him has been very close.
Wow.
Very important that the time I spent with him, not only for my personal development, at that time it was more filling in the blanks, but it was more important to him because that at that point of his life, at the age he was at, he had been through so many students, taught so many people, shared so much knowledge. And yes, he had the ones that he had to kick out, and no, he didn't take them back because you disrespect the club, you're out.
Yeah.
So knowing all these things, and honestly knowing politics and knowing dynamics and understanding it better, I really humbled myself and I made an effort and I said, I need to make this happen. So around the 44th, I started re-entering the Hong Luk
44th.
44th anniversary, which is when I met you guys.
Okay, yeah.
Okay. So at first it was a little bit, well, you know, you're doing your own thing. And I said, yeah. And I said, well, and he said, well, you know, okay. So we got the invitation. Oh, come on, 45th. Come out, bring some people, help with the lion. Right? Okay. So that anniversary, 45th, we had made arrangements with a friend of ours named Grandmaster Charles Platten, who was Hapkido Grandmaster. He had been involved with Hong Luk in the 80s. He had helped sponsor Benny the Jet Urquidez to Hong Luk. Benny the Jet came up to do a couple seminars in Toronto, and because of the relationship with Hong Luk, he had brought Benny down to Hong Luk to do some seminars in the club. So Grandmaster Platten and I had reconnected at a MMA expo he was down there doing a couple panels, and I was there with the club sharing some kung fu stuff. So we're chatting, and then the 45th is coming up. So we decided, hey, 45th is coming up. Hey, why don't we invite Grandmaster Bob Wall up from the States? You know, Enter the Dragon. Yeah, okay. It worked out. So a couple calls later, we're talking to Bob Wall on the phone. We'd be honored to have you at our anniversary. And sure enough, he made it up. So Grandmaster Charles Chuck Platten made the arrangements, and then we sponsored him up to come and celebrate 45th at Hongla. So that was really kind of the first step to the journey with Sifu Paul Chan, because at that time his health was not the greatest, but he was coming up to the 50th, and he had shared so much with so many people, and things were kind of not as strong as it should be for various reasons. People get busy, so there was an opportunity there to spend time with him. And actually, I think what he liked about me is, not obviously he knew who I was and where I was coming from. He's very close. We're very close with my family. But I am always grateful for the opportunity he gave me to utilize my vast experience.
And so I wonder if we could just get you to say a few words about young people who want to sort of start into the martial arts. A few words of encouragement maybe, and how to approach it. It's kind of a freewheeling kind of a statement, but
Yeah.
what would you like to say?
Well, it's an honor and a privilege, and you're lucky to learn what you learn, and you're given what you're given, and what you're given, you take it serious. You know, I mean, my first form took me a year to learn. I learned 3 moves every 3 months, and you ask for more, they make you wait longer, right? So
It's different now.
it's different now. So we call it bridge generation. So we're young enough we experience the ways of the Wakyu, or the older generation, and we're young enough to relate to today's generation. And they're a handful, but there's ways of motivating. Example, when we were told, okay, go punch the bag, you punch the bag until you're told to stop, or okay, go punch it 500 times. That's what you did. You didn't answer back, or you didn't ask why. You did it. These days, you tell someone, hey, go punch the bag 500 times, they stick the middle finger at you.
Yeah.
Go do it yourself. Okay. So what we find is, in positive encouragement is okay, this is the benefits. These are the benefits from doing that. Okay, yes, you're strengthening your hands, you're toughening your knuckles, okay, but you're also developing energy, internal energy, balance, transitions, stamina, your conditioning, your cardio, okay? You're learning how to make contact, you're learning the distance, okay? So if you ever need Kung Fu in a situation of self-defense, you are more equipped to handle yourself better. You know the feeling of making contact, okay? So it takes a little bit of explanations, and sometimes it's the moments when the light bulb goes on. Oh yes, and actually they'll go there and you can't get them off the bag. So I actually find sometimes maybe a little bit explanations goes away
And the discipline
further.
too, like to go and punch a bag 500 times without asking questions, and doing it whether you want to or not, right? Just taking control of yourself, right?
Yeah,
And doing what you tell it yourself to do, not your whims. Yeah. It's a different discipline, yeah.
Around 1999, Sifu Paul Chan because Sifu Paul Chan every year was going back to Toishan in China, Guangzhou. So in 1999, in Guangzhou, there was a federation that was formalized because the teachers in China wanted standardized and they want to preserve. Because in China, it's the same thing. The kids are not interested. They're too busy with school, and there's a million other things to do. They're not doing Kung Fu. So Choy in Guangzhou wanted to unite and standardize and try to preserve to the best that we could, books, videos, and such. So there was one tournament that was held in Sunway by the Ancestral Temple, and this time it was held in Guangzhou City. So Sifu Paul Chan received the invitation if he could attend and send people, right? When he first asked us in October, November, I had in my mind, okay, let's get ready for this. Let's quietly prepare ourselves, see what happens, right? So I think the plan was he was also going to go to the tournament, and I had already made the commitment. Unfortunately, he passed away, right? So he never got to be a part of that tournament. However, I fulfilled my commitment and I fulfilled my promise, and I went. I fulfilled it, and I went there, and I had the time of my life. That was a life-changing experience. The people I had met, the amount of knowledge and passion that I saw, but not only that, it really taught me and really showed me how deeply rooted and connected and how great our Kung Fu here in Canada is. Because what we were doing here is just as good as what they were doing there,
Right.
if not better.
Oh, what a good experience then. Yeah.
To everyone's surprise, including myself, the scoring, I did my staff form first. I did my broadsword, and then I did the compulsory hand form, which is a new Choy foot set that was designed to amalgamate or unite the lineages of Choy foot in terms of competition. So the staff form apparently scored like 8.63. So apparently that was the second highest point total in the tournament. Officially, unofficially, it was the highest points scored in the tournament.
Oh, good for you.
Yeah, congratulations.
And our broadsword and hand form didn't score as high, but it still scored 8.4 or something, and then 8.39 or something. Still gold medal level, right? So I was awarded 3 gold medals, and the medals was great. And of course, getting medal is getting medal. And in China, for me, trying to learn culture and find my identity, that was thrilling for me. So in 2012, when we went to the tournament and participated, we stayed for a month. Up until that point, Sifu Paul was recognized as the overseas advisor to Choy Foot for Canada. While we were there, so they're asking, well, Sifu Paul passed away, Sifu Ian. So they decided and they voted on having me be the Canadian Choy Foot overseas advisor.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm the second one after Paul Chang.
Awesome.
Wow.
Wow, that's fantastic.
Awesome
Yeah.
it is.
Never received a congratulations, but I did.
You never received congratulations from who? From
Anyone.
Anyone?
Well, you certainly will receive it here.
You sure will.
Well,
So
you received it.
the part two of that is, and I don't say it to boost my own ego, but on the next trip back to Guangzhou, I had said, well, I'm very happy to have this overseas advisor position, and I'm very happy that I earned that, and I'm happy that they trust me or they feel that I can fulfill that position. I said, but something's rolling around, something's not right. And I realized because Sifu Jin Chan was one of the many masters who never ever got recognized for all his accomplishments and everything that he provided for Kung Fu in Toronto. So I decided we need to get Sifu Jin recognized. We need to get my father recognized. We need to get my father's students recognized. So we had asked permission if we could have our village style of Choy Foot be recognized by Guangdong Federation. And we're approved.
That's fantastic. Yeah.
That's huge.
Sifu Jin, Sifu Mo, Sifu Enrico, and Sifu George. Toishan Choy Foot are recognized in Guangdong Federation as Toishan Choy Foot.
They have a legacy. Yeah.
So that's quite like you're not with Hong Luk right now. You're
Currently not with Hong Luk.
Separate in your Toishan club, martial arts club. Right?
We have our own family school,
Okay.
and kind of a branch, kind of still kind of the essence of my father's club. I've been doing that for a long time. I kind of took that over and tweak it so it continues. So the three original official Kung Fu schools in Toronto was Jingmo Club, led by Grandmaster Jimmy Lore and Grandmaster Jack Chin. Hongluk, Grandmaster Paul Chan, Grandmaster Jin Chan, and Jinhua Kung Fu Club, led by Grandmaster Henry Ma.
Wow.
And working with Sifu Justin and the Green Dragon, because we are of same lineage from Grandmaster Mark Chan and Sigong Wang Chan Yip. So we decided to call our group Toishan Martial Arts, respecting our ancestors, where we come from, along with our style. We see it as a legacy. A legacy is not just bowing to a Sun Toy and a General Kwan and 3 grandmasters on a side wall. Lineage and legacy is knowing who your teachers are, who your teachers' students are, who your Si Hing are, who your Si Suk are, who are the members of your club, who are the pioneers, the first generation, third generation, second generation.